Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I hope that you are having a super fantastic day. I certainly am. And if you're not, well, you should be because you're awesome and you're you, and why not? Why not, right? Anyway, loved one, I want to start this off with just quickly. I want to say that everything I talk about is under the presumption that consciousness is fundamental. Meaning, I do not believe in materialism. I do believe that the source of creation, the all, you can call it God if you want, had the aha moment, had the big I exist, I am moment, and then began creating in its infinite mind. And that is the opposite of that is the whole materialist idea, where they believe that the Big Bang happened, meaning everything came from nothing and began expanding and then evolving, and eventually life happened through various chemical processes, and then life began evolving, and at some point, humans, here we are, and that consciousness somehow came up in the mind, and there we go. I know I'll make it sound rather ridiculous, and I guess I can't say I'm not doing it on purpose. Yeah, maybe I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but anyway, I gotta reject that model, really. But I do know there are there are many layers to this creation. In fact, there may be infinite amount of layers. But where we are now, where we are right now, I do believe that we are jacked into this 3D realm, this physical reality from the outside, and that self of ours on the outside would be considered our higher self, and that it is jacked into this avatar through the filter of the brain, meaning it filters out the things that we can't exactly know everything that we know on the outside. Otherwise, this realm would be no challenge for us. But we come into here for the challenge, for the growth, to gain knowledge, experience, wisdom, enlightenment, all of those things. And we come into this voluntarily. And we use the five senses, central nervous system, all of that in order to navigate this realm. And that's what makes all of this seem real. When you are immersed in an environment, it seems very real. Much like when you hear people who are out of body experiencers, when they'll tell you that when they are out of their body, that realm seems at that time seems just as real as this one does here. You see, most people who've never experienced that state, when they imagine it, they imagine some very etheric and mystical environment. And maybe it is. However, it doesn't feel mystical and etheric when you're in that state. That's the difference. So when we're in this state, it seems very, very real. Another example that I've often used is like, when you will have a dream, and when you wake from the dream and you remember it, you think, yeah, that was really weird. And one of the weirdest parts of it was the fact that it seemed so real to you in that moment. That's the weird part, is that it seemed so real in the moment, or while I was in that state, in that dream state, right? So, and then when we look at simulations, virtual reality, right now we are at a state of our technology where we can still tell the difference. We still know, okay, that's virtual, that's simulated, this is not. And while that's getting good, people are getting really good at it. It's still like, yeah, but in 10 years from now, virtual reality is probably going to be indistinguishable. I'm talking to you right now from 2025. So I guess, I mean, how could I know? But in, say, 2035, virtual reality will be indistinguishable from what we call reality. Of course, what we call reality, it's all subjective. It's only because that's where we are currently. Just like in the dream state. When you're in that dream state, it seems, one of the weirdest things of it is because it seemed so real while you were in that state. Or if you're out of body, even. When you're out of body, when you're in that state, it's like it seems so real. Everything is just as real there as it is here. That's because that's your perception. That's where you are at the time. So if we are in some simulated environment, I do believe that it is. Now, is it a computer simulation? If you mean a computer like Windows or iOS or something like that, not necessarily. But I mean, there can be so many different ways technology can present itself. Just because it's not wires and circuit boards and buttons and dials doesn't mean it's not technology. That's just what we associate as technology. There could be a computer that is what we would call a galaxy. It's like, yeah, that entire galaxy is a computer. That's a pretty crazy, outlandish concept. I get it. Okay. If you would go back to, let's say, 1980 and show somebody an iPhone 16, they'd probably think that's pretty crazy and outlandish. But here we are, right? So anyway, that's getting off subject. But I have talked about in the past, like Jean Baudrillard and his simulacrum. Simulacrum is not a word that's, it's coming more into the collective's consciousness now, but it's a very old Latin word. And it means a copy of something. So if this were some simulation in some kind of technological thing, it would have, if we follow the 4 stages of simulacrum, according to Jean Baudrillard, then the originally that simulation was an exact copy of something. But then it was, for lack of a better term, hijacked. Right? At some point it was hijacked. At some point something was introduced. But it's like, well, was it hijacked or was this purposely allowed to happen? Was there something that came into it and shook it all up and made things weird? Was that by design, or was that maybe a virus in the system? That would be even further reason for the simulation if it were purposely done, if it were purposely installed, if an AI were purposely installed in this simulation to shake things up. Because if you were to do that, then you are containing that. You can then have an experiment. And I do believe, dear loved one, that we have all come here very much voluntarily. But here's how the sales pitch would have went. It's like, hey, I need some people, a lot of people, to voluntarily go into this simulation where you're going to be able to learn and grow and gain so much knowledge, so much experience, so much everything. You can even create your own reality. It's conducive to creating reality for yourself. However, it's also conducive to very bad things, evil, and just very bad things. I mean, we know that there's a lot of bad things in the world. So if you would accept this challenge, then we're going to put you into this VR and you're going to go into there, but you're not going to be able to know that who you are on the outside. Now, you might figure it out, but we can't put you in there knowing all of these things, because then it wouldn't be a challenge, because then you would go in there knowing all there is to know. And it's like, well, this is easy because I can do that or whatever. So I got to believe that we accepted the challenge. And then it was some form of quarantined or sectioned off thing so that there could be no contamination of the outside. Now, does that mean that I believe it sounds to me, Matt, like it sounds to me like you believe we live in a computer. No. We may be having an experience in a computer, but your consciousness, you are an immortal soul. Your consciousness, your true self, is outside of it. See, anything that happens in here is contained to in here. So getting back to the hijacking. So it could be that it was installed. It could be that it was purposefully put here. And that would bring me to the Jean Baudrillard's 4 stages of simulacrum. Stage 1, reality resembles basic reality. Everything is exactly as it was on the outside. We can't tell a difference. But, and that's the reality that we know. But in stage 2, reality begins to morph. Actually, if you just go and look it up, stage 2, it begins to mask or pervert reality. The simulacrum does. Meaning things start to get a little weird. It's like, wait a minute, that's not how things were. Hello, Mandela Effect. And then in the third stage, it begins to mask the absence of basic reality. In other words, it has changed so much that the basic reality, the reality that was originally programmed into it, it's almost gone. But it's masking it. It doesn't want you to see that that's what basic reality was. That's why we kind of think, wait a minute, things are just not as they used to be. I remember a time when this, or I remember that. All of these things. Stage 4 is when the reality bears no resemblance to its original. The simulacrum has no original copy. It began as a copy of something, but it has morphed into something that is completely different. Meaning there is no copy of it. It has become its own thing. It's like, well, if it's a copy, then it has to be a copy of something. Well, it was, but now it's not. But that would be great for the experiment. It's like, well, now we know what could happen if this hijacking, if this evil entity were to have its way. But we also know that people are very resilient. People are we love to explore. We're very curious. We love to figure things out. So even with all of those odds stacked against you, there are going to be those who do rise up out of it, who do realize this environment, as crazy as it may be, is still conducive to me creating my own reality, making things how I want it to be. At which point, at the end, when you jack back out of here, you may be greeted by people, by the people that put you in here in the first place and say, wow, good job, you figured it out. Against all those odds, against all that crazy crap happening with the 4 stages of the simulacrum or whatever that was that went on in there. That was nuts. You still found a way to elevate yourself above the negative feedback loops of the collective consciousness, of the collective of humans who kind of accepted all that negativity as, well, this is just the way it is. But not you. No, you didn't. You persevered and you learned and you overcame it. Very good. So anyway, that is a theory. And actually it's a it's a growing theory. It's becoming a very popular theory. Because that would be a way for, if we are on the outside, that would be a very good way for you to learn some very good things, to learn some very hard lessons in an environment that does not harm you or anything around you on the outside. See, so anything that can happen to you in here, yeah, that sucks. But it's like, yeah, but it's not happening out there. And we need to make sure we keep it controlled and contained in one place. Now that could be even if that means that it's a computer that is an entire galaxy. Like I said, there could be ways technology could present itself that we have not even fathomed yet. So anyway, dear loved ones, just something for you to think about. And I would love, yes, I'm going to solicit comments, of course. I would love for you in the comments section to please put down what you think. What do you think of simulacrum? What do you think of simulation theory? What do you think of divine matrix? I would love to know. So anyway, loved ones, that's what I got. If you would, you can find me on X. That's where I post all my videos that are very candid, obviously very much not edited. Although I will say, it's coming up that I am going to be more. I'm going to be able to put graphics up on the screen. I've decided I like doing these videos so much that I'm actually going to start being a little more serious about it. That doesn't mean I'm going to be serious. Please understand. I'm going to be goofy. I just gotta. But anyway, so let me know what you think. And, let me know what you think, of course. Yes. But you can find me on X. That's where I post my videos. Also audio podcast. Now the audio podcast is different. It revolves more around addiction and recovery and those things. And I also do some blogging. I have not been doing a whole lot of that lately because I've mostly been focusing on these videos and a memoir. But anyway, there's that. So yeah, please give this video a thumbs up, a big old like. If you've made it this far, I can't imagine why you wouldn't do that. Obviously, yeah. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, I would so appreciate it if you would do so, help the channel grow. That would be very much appreciated. Anyway, I do love you, loved ones, and I'll be back directly.